Okay, we are live. Finally, thankfully. Happy Friday, everybody. I am glad that you are here with us. I know every week I say it's been a week, but it's been a week. Jamie, what's going on? How are you?
It definitely has been a week. There has been one thing after another, but that's a good sign. It means things are increasing, and I guess it's all
Yep.
about how we react is the main takeaway from this.
Absolutely. It really is. And that is a really cool thing. Someone just told me just a few minutes ago, which I thought was totally awesome because I said, like, I'm not normally the person who can't wait till 5 o'clock on Friday, but this week I'm like, oh, I just need the madness to end. And this person just said to me, this is the nicest compliment, that I'm the only person that she knows who's happy all the time. And that, because I always crank the tunes up and I'm singing and I'm like, it's been a week, but life's good. So what are you going to do? So that's a
I would
good
have
thing.
to concur with that. You are
Okay.
absolutely always smiling. I have never seen you angry or,
Oh.
you can be in a mood, but never angry.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I have an agenda for today. Um, but of course, we're going to take questions. Jamie has questions, but I never put out, because it's been a week, I never put out a video asking for people's questions or putting out our theme. But I've gotten a lot of questions on anxiety during a reboot process and even before. So I thought I would touch upon anxiety a little bit and dig in a little bit more as to what creates anxiety. So if anybody has any thoughts or questions, especially in that regard, that would be a good place for us to go. Just to kind of mix it up. And I know we've talked about social anxiety a little bit, but in an effort to not answer all this, kind of this similar questions all the time. So, no, you can't smoke a joint. Nice try, Chris Adams. But, and actually, that's one of the last comments. That is our default to take the edge off of anxiety. And I know I've been feeling it this week where it's like, I just want to sit on the couch. I'm not a couch sitter where I'm like, oh, my couch is calling me. Or actually, yesterday I got up early out of bed. This morning I'm like, I cannot get up. And my kids come out and they're like, where's breakfast? I'm like, it's make your own breakfast day, kids. And they're looking at me like, this lady's gone mad. I was sitting at the kitchen table, like drinking coffee. They're looking at me like, I'm not sure what's happening right now. But, and that's kind of like when you're so busy, your brain shifts into downshifts and, doesn't want to do anything. But, welcome, Drew Summers, to our live stream here. So we're going to talk about anxiety. Doug's already commented that meditation helps, and meditation really is helpful. We have another question about PIED, which we'll dig into. Okay, so Jamie, do you have any questions, burning questions that we should start with? Because then I will talk about how anxiety happens within the cycle. But let's start with a couple questions.
So, I had a question that from Trevor. Sometimes I feel 100% committed to taking all of the actions required to end this addiction. Other times I feel rather apathetic about taking actions. I've always struggled with self-discipline. Do you have any recommendations for building the drive to take action?
Yep. And it's circular, unfortunately, in that you have to take action. The first step is action to stay committed. And I've talked to a few people this week, which, is unironic because I feel like I'm in the same mode as the people that I've talked to, is that when you take action, it keeps you committed. It keeps you disciplined. When the actions start to break down and fall apart a little bit, then it's easier to sit on the couch. Then it's easier to pour a drink. Then it's easier to go smoke some marijuana. But when you create a flexibly scheduled life and you stick to it, and flexibly scheduled is that you're on purpose enough and you're engaged. Another thing I wanted to talk about was staying engaged in life. not overly engaged, not underly engaged, just perfectly engaged. And most people do not do that. And when you are perfectly engaged, you actually don't need as much discipline. Now let's peel it back a layer to, this reboot process, rewiring your brain, that you need commitment and you need to create the plan. And then the discipline is sticking to the plan. I think the hardest part about discipline is trying to figure out what the thing you're supposed to do. And I thought about this a lot too, because I thought the things I wanted to talk about today, outside of the questions, but of course I always integrate them into the questions, is thinking about anxiety and stress and just, creates overwhelm and it makes you want to shut down or makes you want to just motor through your life. But then I also thought about just doing your best. So in this process, when you're going to rewire your brain, it's a daunting task. And I've been thinking that about myself this week because the reason I'm more stressed out, and I've shared this the last couple times we've gotten together, is because I'm trying to accomplish big things right now. And I'm trying to put this whole thing together so that we can be here for you long term, providing support for you. But we're at a foundational, point in that, which can be really stressful. So every day I try to realize, you know what? I did my personal best today with all the stuff that came up in my life, with all the challenges that came at me, so that I don't beat myself up on, feeling like I'm not doing what I want to do. I've created a plan for myself. I have to course correct sometimes in the plan for things that happen to me or come from me. And I do that every day. And that's how you can create the discipline. Give yourself some grace when you need it. So like this morning, I always get up before 5 o'clock usually. And this morning it was literally almost 6 o'clock. And I'm like, I do not feel like getting up. And then I'm like, you know what? It's Friday. It's one day. I can chill out for a little while and then get up instead of like beating myself up because I just need a little bit of a break. I need a break. So that's okay. And so then I'm like, you know what? All the other days I get up really early, it's okay to take a break. Now, it's not okay to let the discipline of your reboot, rewiring your brain journey break down. That you can't let break down. You have to stay in the plan that you make. So there's fundamentals. The fundamentals are doing the things that you need to do. So like, I am busier this week. I didn't not go to work. I need to go to work. I didn't not, do all the important things in my life. I did all of those things, but then I slept in a little. So I didn't let the fundamentals break down, but I gave myself some grace. So for you, what does that look like in this journey is you have to create your pivot plan, what you're going to do instead of giving in to cravings and urges. It's absolutely necessary to move through them so that you can be at your best and move through the anxiety that we'll talk about. But, give yourself a little grace if you aren't perfect in that. And that is what creates a discipline. Just start acting, action steps in the right direction. And if you're in any of our programs, you have those action steps. Don't overthink it. Because I started to overthink today and I'm like, overthinking is literally the worst thing. Just get up and, get moving and get back on track. So that was 6 o'clock. By 8 o'clock, I'm motoring and doing the things that I need to and enjoying it. So that's the best advice for you there. And I know it's difficult. I know it's not an easy thing to do, but you can do it. You can do it.
So, Stephen, thank you for your donation. And David, thank you for your gracious donation. We do truly appreciate it. I'm trying to find both of the questions. For some reason, it was hiding one of them, but it says, when I am working on my computer, PC programming, sometimes I feel aroused, similar to get ready to intercourse. Is this a type of sensation normal? This thing happens to me when I'm working towards a goal. And then there's a second part to the question.
Okay, let's see. You're getting your hair done right now, David. You're a trip.
Yeah. Sometimes similar used to happen to me when I was a college student doing electronics on hard math problems. Is there a way to channel this? Or
Okay,
I'm
what is it?
channeling
What's the first part?
the first part. It's not on this chat. It's on,
Yeah, gotcha.
it's hidden. When I'm working on my computer, sometimes I feel aroused, similar to when I get ready for intercourse. Is this a type of sensation?
Okay, I
Is this
gotcha.
type of sensation normal?
Okay, yeah, totally. I understand the question now. And I just had a conversation about this. So I think this is what the question has to do with. And I'm sure everybody can benefit from this. So here's the deal. So if you are, so when you are working, well, I have a few thoughts. If you're in the same physical environment where you used to consume pornography, that will give you arousal sensation. So if I'm wrong on this, you can correct me here. But so what might have happened was, you're doing electronics or hard math problems in the same physical environment that you consume porn. Now, it's literally your brain tricking you into taking a dopamine hit break. So you feel aroused. Remember this, when you feel aroused, it's a dopamine drip. It's already started to drip in your brain. And if that drip gets going, what is it doing? It's pulling you into the screen, or it's pulling you into masturbation. So your brain is going, okay, I've got math to do. Math is hard. And if you consume pornography, your brain has been trained that there's no dopamine in math. If you're a person who likes math, there should be a little bit of dopamine if your brain was healthy. But me, I can't do math at all. I'm sorry to tell you. Someone said to me, they're like, I thought you know how to do everything. I'm like, no, I know a lot about this. Literally, I can't tip the pizza boy. I ask JB and I'll be figuring stuff out, and I'll be completely wrong on the math. So math is very cortisol producing for me. The thought of math like spikes the neurotransmitter for stress, drops my dopamine really low if I had to take a math test. There's just not that much dopamine in math for most people. So if your brain's conditioned every time it's stressed out, cortisol spikes, what do? You disengage from the thing with no dopamine and you go to the thing that has all the dopamine. That's what your brain is doing. That's what the sensation of arousal is. Now, if you get aroused when you're going to be with your partner, that's healthy arousal. Your brain's aroused because it's time to actually be sexual with another person. That's if you recover and you are healthy, then that's not hypersexuality. But in this case, it's like there's no dopamine. I need dopamine. Your brain's been trained that when it gets hard, you escape and you don't engage, you don't approach, you disengage and you escape into a dopamine hit where you've been finding it. So do not be tricked by that. So back to my original thought is that for many people, they are triggered by their physical environment. And I was just talking to someone about this, saying like, time for a new chair, time to move your computer system into a different room. Some people get new computers. People who've had big problems for a long time, their computers just completely triggering and they have to get a new computer. So it can be that you are just aroused from that euphoric recall of days of past. And if you're not going to take that pathway anymore, then you do need to change your physical, mental, and categorical environment. And I see Marvel Berna has a question. How do you recognize the source? So the source of arousal can be those things that are difficult for you. And this is tricky because if you have been sucked into the screen for a long time, your self-awareness is probably low. And so building self-awareness is the key through and out. And this happens over the course of when people join our program, over the course of the Porn Brain Reboot program, your brain unwires and then it starts to rewire towards the optimal pattern. And then what happens is your self-awareness is increased. And I've had conversations like that this week with people where they get on the Zoom with me and they'll ask me a question and I'll say, you know the answer to that. And, the answer's in there in terms of the go, oh yeah, I'm only going to the gym to get dopamine hits from checking people out. Time to get a home gym. And they realize they're putting themselves consistently in a physical or mental environment to be triggered. And that's the hijacker tricking you into wanting to get going back. An addiction, a real addiction, will not let go, will not let the hold go very easily. It will continue to trick you into trying to go back to it. Hi, SM Hassan. How's it going? We're glad to be here to guide people and help people. What else, Jamie? You got another? I'm just going to see.
Early question, and a couple other people wanted to know the answer. I'm already going ahead and asking this question. Why is a lot of sexual things like porn or fetishes usually bonded with trauma?
Yeah, and it's because it is such a big experience in your brain that it basically, so going back to dopamine, yep, I know what you're thinking, dopamine again. Dopamine is a linking neurotransmitter. So what it does is, especially when it's something that you might not like per se, but maybe you do, but that you got this big dopamine rush. So many times fetishes or different genres, things like that, it's because your brain got this massive flood of dopamine when you first saw it. And that link between that thing and the dopamine was bonded very, very, this locked in from the first time that you were exposed to it. And most people have a sense of that many times, not all people, but, someone who is into cross-dressing, we'll say, which is, an example of they would find comfort in their mother's clothes when they were young. And this kind of also leads into the porn question too. Over time, if they kept going to put their mother's robe on when they were really stressed out because of family dysfunction or whatever was going on, the dopamine became linked to putting women's clothes on. And then it keeps being used, the neural pathway, over and over and over. And over time, that has built up and created these neural pathways. So it can be twofold, and usually it's both. It's this huge dopamine flood the first time that it happens that kind of links it. And then over time, those neural pathways have been created. Now, on the opposite side, answering the question about trauma, on the opposite side, trauma shifts the brain low and slow to avoid all the fast, anxious feelings that are in there. So if something very traumatic has happened to you in the past, your brain will literally shut itself down in that moment and disassociate many people so that it doesn't have to process the thing that has happened to you. But in doing so, it gets locked into the brain in a PTSD type of fashion. And if you've heard me talk about it before, it creates this neurorigidity that locks your brain in this low and slow pattern. I see it in people's brains all the time when they're in our program. I can see that their brains have low power, using too much slowness, and that's usually fighting off that anxiety. So the way a person deals with that and tries to control it, unfortunately, many times, is they will seek it out in pornography or in experiences. So we know this. So, people who have been raped have a higher likelihood of raping other people. It goes back to control. The control is, this thing was done to me and I had no control over it then. I can control it now. And I can control it either by watching it and being able to click away and do whatever I want there, or by doing it to other people. And, obviously that is a very unhealthy brain pattern that's in there. Is there another question? SM Hassan has a great question. How do you handle strong emotions during a reboot? I'll just answer that real quickly, is that I'm looking at a couple questions. Strong emotions are going to be a major trigger for you. Going back to what I said, what happens when you have a strong emotion? Let's say you're arguing with someone. What happens is your cortisol spikes. And when your cortisol, your stress spikes, what does your brain want? 9 out of 10 bad. It wants a dopamine hit. So the way out is to respond and not react. And if you can't handle what's happening to you in the moment, you have to walk away and get your brain back into your control so that you can then approach, you keep hearing me say the same words, approaching a situation instead of running away from it, but doing it in response, not in reaction, and definitely not doing it, in anger. And, if you are sad, if you are angry, letting yourself feel those feelings, let it out, but then being able to move towards whatever is causing that strong emotion so that you can get resolution. And this is not a thing many people do. So, if it's a breakup and you're broken up with, be sad about it, be upset about it, but deal with the emotions in real time. Don't perpetuate them for a long time. Deal with them, let them move through you, unlock that brain, and keep moving forward.
All right. Here's a question from Super Sunny D. If we're single and not engaging in sexual relations due to a small social circle and social anxiety, how can we deal with hypersexuality when seeing a woman in public?
Yeah, this is a great question. And it's simple, but not easy, like most of the best things in the entire world, meaning that the goal of this program and what we're here to help people do is to move from hypersexuality to healthy sexuality. And honestly, that doesn't even require anybody else. It can be done best in private by yourself, working through things. But then when you go out, you may be triggered again. So long story short, you should start to see people as whole people, whole beings, not just a part of their body that gives you a dopamine hit. The strongest strategy is eye contact, not creepy eye contact that says, I'm here to connect with you on an intimate person to person level. Intimacy is the thing that most people are running away from in this regard. So when you look a person in the eyes and you create that intimacy, that could be off-putting to you, but that is, again, the way through. So when you go out, don't go out with the goal of hooking up with a person. Hopefully that's implied, but go out with, the intent of being connected to other people. We're all connected, just like the trees on the painting behind us. We know this. We are connected with each other. And if you see other people as being connected to you, you don't want to use them for dopamine hit.
All right. I've got one that is not listed. This is from Hassan. He says, my question is super controversial, so I'm asking it here. We know that porn changes brain waves and brain functions by changing neuropathways. We know that it will lead to brain shrinkage. So as you said, we have mental illusions and brain malfunctioning. So are transgenderism or gender fluidity and homosexuality, etc., illusions, or they have other aspects to them? If true, only men or women too?
Okay, this is a great question. And I will make a video on it. And I want you to know, because I know so many people have this question, but before I make a video on it, of course, I'll answer it here. But this is the disclaimer. Before I make a video on it, I have been researching the science behind it. So I already know some of it, thankfully. But before I make a video, I want to make sure I have my brain wrapped around the entire thing. But I mean, the easiest thing to just conceptualize from a, basic standpoint is that no, porn isn't the only reason that people are gay or are into different things. People have arousal templates that they develop over a healthy lifetime. So it's not a root cause of such things. So there's organic attraction and arousal. And that's healthy when it is healthy and it's true and authentic to you. That's the most important part. So this is what I want you to remember. And I will, of course, explain it a lot. When you're young, before you consume pornography, if you have a sense of what's going on with you and who you're attracted to, who you're not, and of course, it might be difficult if you started watching porn when you were 11. That's the danger of all this. But healthy people have in them an organic arousal template and the types of people that they are aroused by, even down to kind of healthy lust too. So, you might be attracted, leaving porn out of the equation, you might be attracted to a certain type of person. You might be attracted to, shorter people, smaller people, taller people, bigger people, people that are female, people that are male, people that have long hair, people that have blue eyes. All of those factors could be in your organic arousal template. But now what happens when you consume pornography is that arousal template gets confused. There's a lot of sexual arousal confusion. And that's the research that I've been dipping into. What does pornography do to people's sexuality? And what does it do to their arousal template? And what I know from working with so many people and hearing their stories is that they are now attracted visually in the screen to things that they don't think that they are actually attracted to in real life. So I've talked to a few people this week that said, you know what? I am attracted to men, but then I tried to be with men and I'm not attracted. It was not for me, but I want to watch men on the screen. And it goes back to the dopamine hit. You've trained your brain that looking at men on the screen is what gives you the dopamine hit. It's all about that linking, and it creates a ton of confusion. So going back to the actual question, the question is like, is any of it real or is it all an illusion? For healthy people, it's real. For people who've been consuming the illusion for years and years all the time, it's an illusion. You don't know what's real. And it's a distorted reality. And that is what's true. So when you go through a program, you can start to unwire that brain pattern for fetishes, for genres, for different acts, for different people. And then this is the real deal in terms of how do you deal with it and how do you get back to a healthy place. And it goes back to those neural pathways. You may always have something in your arousal template because you've used those neural pathways so many times. And I've talked about this before. If you can incorporate that into a healthy sexual relationship, I think that's one of the better things to do. So there's different acts. Like if everybody's happy with that act in your relationship, then talk about it, communicate about it, and keep it in the mix. But if it's something that your partner doesn't like, if it's something no partner would like, then you have to let those pathways die off. But they might try to fire themselves up. But long story short, pornography is really confusing this for you. But of course, there's people out there that they have authentic, organic arousal templates. I think those are the lucky people. No matter whom they love and no matter what they love, if it's actually in them, there is nothing better than just being your real self and knowing what you like, even if other people don't agree with you. That is the spice of life. And that's what I want all of us here to try to get back to, is just knowing what you like, knowing that it's really you, and then being able to go after it. Of course, making sure that it's healthy for you and for other people too. But I'm making a vid on it.
Here is another question. Kyle, first I want to say thank you. I've made it over 100 days.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Congratulations.
everything. That's great.
Yeah, that's amazing.
This
really
is the second longest I've ever gone, and it is a milestone for me. I keep trying to convince my friends to give this a try, but they always say things like, I can stop if I wanted, but I don't feel like I'm doing something bad, or it causes cancer. I try to explain to them how much more confident and happy I am and the person that I have become, but it doesn't seem to do anything, and I can't convince them enough. What would your message be?
Sure. What the message is what's the first rule of Fight Club? Anybody? Yes, Smith. Yes, I'm live. Hello, Smith. Thank you, David. I am absolutely live here. So what's the first rule of Fight Club? Put it in the chat box. The first rule of Fight Club is, I always get it wrong, honestly. I always say that there is no Fight Club, but the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. And actually I have been, I recorded a podcast with a super smart young man, Austin, and we were talking about not Fight Club, but nihilism versus existentialism, which I'd love to touch upon here once I answer that question. And Fight Club I was just looking up some stuff about nihilism to make some points, and Fight Club comes up as kind of a mainstream example of nihilism, which was really cool. And I'll talk about it in a second. But, the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. You can't talk people into change. The way, I know I'm a broken record, but the way that you can help affect change in other people is by acting and being so confident in what you're doing. And you know how this goes. Sometimes you are telling your friends that they should do it because they're going to feel so great, but it's also like you want them to support you and validate this choice. So you have to get to a point where you're just validated from the inside. You're doing what you want to do for you. You're doing it because it's what you want to do, and you don't need the validation from outside. Of course, you want them to join you because then you can talk about it and you can engage in it and, go back and forth, and then you're on this journey together. But recovery tends to be a journey that you have to take alone until you find like-minded people. And that is the really important thing, that if your friends can't come on the journey with you, of course you can tell them what you're doing, but if they can't come along on the ride, I have found that sometimes it's best to stop talking to them about it. I can give you a great example that doesn't have to do with pornography, but back in the day, I used to own, I don't know if I shared this with you, I owned restaurants. I don't know if I shared that with all of you, but I also owned gyms. Right when my husband and I got together, we owned some fitness clubs, gyms. And we told our family that we thought we were going to open these gyms. And we bought a gym that was already, up and running. And guess what people said? You can't do that. You'll never be able to do that. And so I've learned a long time ago to not tell people what I'm doing. I will tell people after I'm doing it. And if they're psyched to be part of that with me, great. If they aren't psyched to be part of it with me, I stop talking about it. And I do it because it's what I want to do. And it makes me feel good on the inside. And I don't need them to come with me. And of course, like that's happened to me for my whole life. I think I've shared with you all that I'm kind of the black sheep in my family. And I wear that distinction with pride now. But, as I was becoming the black sheep, that wasn't an easy thing, to leave a flock of white sheep and become the black sheep takes a lot of strength. And of course, originally I'm like, hey, white sheep, it's way better being the black sheep. Who's coming with me? And everyone's like, I love being a white sheep. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, come on, where it's at is being a black sheep. And then nobody would come on the journey of being a white sheep with me. And I had to go on that journey by myself, and it made me stronger for it. And, that's probably where you're at. So if they're not responding, stop talking and start doing, and just know that you're doing it for yourself. And this journey is one that you take alongside of other people. They're not even necessarily in the journey with you. We all have our own journeys that we're doing next to each other. So when you think of it that way, that you're on your journey and this is what it includes, you go for it.
So a couple things have come up through the live, and we are going to touch base on No Porn November and having some really cool things that are going to be coming up for the new year. So stay tuned.
Yeah, David, we got you, my friend.
Yeah.
David, in November, we're creating a No Porn November, No Fap November. I always forget what Declan said. No, what did Declan say? He had
No
some term
Nut
for it.
November.
Oh, No Nut November. Yep, whichever November you're participating in. We will have a program, again, that's really affordable, that if you want to join us, it will include daily motivation. It will include videos. It will include motivational quotes. It will include emails. So if you are thinking that when November comes up, you're down for No Porn November, we're here for you, and we can provide that inspiration, motivation, knowledge for you to integrate it into action steps. We're really psyched about it. We're getting it in order. And then, David, like you asked about, I've been in the midst of putting together a program, how to get through the holidays without porn. And so we've got you there because I see your comment that no one knows you're on this journey because you know your people and they won't get it. My people never get what I'm doing. And a lot of my journey is, it's not secretive. It's just discernment, having discernment in what you share with who. And that's part of growing up your emotional maturity, which is at the core of this journey. As you grow up your emotional maturity and you become a better version of yourself, and other people see that happening, and it inspires them to become a better version of themselves. No words are necessary. Yep, exactly. There is no Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club. Which actually, I want to just talk about nihilism versus existentialism for just a second. And I promise you, I won't go waxing poetic for too long. But nihilism is very potent when it comes to pornography addiction. It's basically the idea that nothing matters. And, like getting a quick payoff now is where it's at. And, nothing we do here really matters. And in Fight Club, what happened was their daily lives were so stressful. Everything I'm talking about happening to most of us and getting away from is Fight Club's the example, because the men went to the drudgery of their lives and all they wanted to do is feel alive. And the way they would feel alive is they would go fight and like I always say, scream, punch, let it out, man. Let out all the angst from the day, or better yet, create a life that doesn't build angst across your day, is the way I see it. But the goal of shifting from nihilism to, what I'm doing doesn't matter, is existentialism. My existence matters. And then again, not overthinking it, because when you overthink existentialism, it's like, thinking about your existence too much. That's why I encourage you to create time and space where you go, okay, what am I here to do? Now that's a big question. What's my purpose here on earth? Instead, you go, what do I like to do? What are my gifts? What am I good at? What do I want to spend my time doing? Because that's literally your purpose. And then having the strength, whether your people understand you or not, to go, you know what? This is what I'm doing. And I told you, when I told my family that I am focusing on pornography and helping people not watch pornography, guess what I heard? What I wanted to hear was, Trish, that's awesome. I'm so glad you're helping people. Instead, I heard crickets. This is what I heard right here. Nothing. I literally heard nothing. It was like I didn't say anything. Right on to the next topic, because my people can't handle anything that's got anything real in it. I literally heard crickets, not my hubs. Of course, he understands and he's a great support. And my kids are a great support, but my family of origin, as we say it in the business, literal crickets. So because I heard crickets, did that make me go, I'm not going to do this because, people aren't telling me what a great job I'm doing? No, if I'm doing this right, I actually expect a little resistance. And when the resistance comes, it makes me know that I'm doing what I should be doing and that I'm on purpose and that I feel good about it. Yeah. Destiny aspect. You know it. And someone emailed me, I forget who it was, but someone, I don't think they're here, I would know your name. Someone emailed me saying, people are going to come after you because you're on the right track of helping people. And when they come after you, stay the course because we need you. And it was such a beautiful email. And that's exactly how I feel, is that, people need people. And this is what I have in my heart. And this is what I am good at. So here I am. Let's keep doing it. Right.
And I got the same reaction whenever I told my family too. So it was, but the comments that I get here from the different clients, it makes it so worth every bit of the other comments that I may get that are not so.
Totally. And going back to the question about, if your friends aren't ready to do it with you, is that, it doesn't matter. Like if it's in there for you to do, you can do it. And, when you experience this, it actually gives you pause. Like, should I really be doing this? And when you have that pause, you become stronger. because of the pause, because other people kind of challenged your thought system. And if you can just take a minute and go, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do. You feel great about it when you realize you don't need other people's support. Yeah. Jamie, what'd you say? I've met this crazy lady. Guess what she does? She wants me to do it with.
And here months later, it's the best thing that I've ever done. Hands down.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah. And you have to gain a little strength. And when you move forward in it, that's approach. And it's an amazing thing. So David, thank you for your donations. I really, truly, really appreciate it. Yeah. There you go, Doug. Another black sheep. Us black sheep, we have to stick together.
Yep. So I'm changing courses. Here's another, is this from Oblix? It is, how do you differentiate between healthy lust and porn-induced objectification?
Mm-hmm. This is great. And again, I made Austin get back on another Zoom with me when we talked, because I had to clarify this very thing, is that when your brain heals, we all want connection. We all actually want a partner. And, porn changes that. Porn has polyamory, multiple partners. People are watching it all the time. So now the world is like, you know what? Let's just have lots of partners, because that's more dopamine inducing. But evolutionarily, sex was created for two people. And we know that through research, not just my opinion, is that we know that people want connection of a partner. And again, it might not be that you have the same partner across your entire lifetime, but people want the affection, the attention, the attraction of one person. So that's what healthy lust is. Healthy lust is when there's one person that you are digging on so much that you can't stop thinking about them. Maybe you can't stop thinking about their body. Maybe you can't stop thinking about what you want to do with them on Friday night. But that's totally different than when you go in the world, you just are looking at people's bodies to get a hit. So unhealthy lust is you're looking for dopamine through sex anywhere you can get it. Healthy lust is you want to be with a person and you enjoy the physical aspect of being with them, and that your brain keeps going back to that. I told Austin a story to try to make this point, that the difference is when my husband and I got together, and a long time ago, I was like 26, I think. We're going to be married 20 years in March. So it was like 22, 23 years ago. What happened was he's totally crunching on me, and he keeps asking me out. And I kept telling him no, because we hung out with this friend group, and I was having the best time in my life. I owned my restaurants then. So I'd be in the restaurants all night long. I'd get up and we'd go to breakfast with this group of people on Thursdays. Super fun time in my life. And so he wants to date. And I'm like, dude, if we date, we'll break up and then we won't be able to do this. And that'll stink. So no. So then, of course, we keep going to breakfast. He keeps asking me out. And then he and I went and we did something together just as friends. But of course, I'm feeling that healthy lust. I want to be with him, but, I'm pumping the brakes on it. But, the tension's there. And it's not him asking 7 to 10 people. It's him asking me over and over and over. And honestly, we still kind of do that in our life today. Our kids think we're totally creepy. They'll be like, you two are gross. I'm like, you are the luckiest children in the world that your parents actually like each other. We like each other as human beings. And we can't wait till all you little buggers grow up and leave this house so we can have some privacy again. And in the meantime, we're going to have to steal it. But, so like that's healthy lust. Now, here's the really funny story is that one time where we went out at night or whatever, and my husband was my boyfriend. He's asleep in the passenger seat next to me. And I'm driving. I think I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee then. I'm driving. This car pulls up next to me, and it's this dude that I knew who he had asked me out once or twice, but he totally was the objectify every person kind of guy. He's asked everybody out once or twice. So this guy pulls up next to me and he tells me to pull over. It's like later at night. It's like 10, 11 o'clock. And my boyfriend's completely asleep, laid down, but that dude doesn't know. So I pull over because I'm me. And plus, my boyfriend's there. I pull over and Kaz wakes up and he sits up. And so we both get out of the car. We're on the side of a road on this busy, busy road. And this dude, I still remember his name. So if you're watching, sorry, but this dude comes walking towards me. And then he sees Kaz. He's like literally floored. But like, you pull me over for what? That's just to try to hook up with me, right? That's not like connection. That's just like, I saw that chick that I wanted to be with, just like I want to be with all these other women. And I pulled her over for a random, totally no reason, even though there's no connection there. So the first one's healthy lust that is felt between two people. The second one is just objectification, trying to get a little dopamine hit from any person that you see, and especially with the end goal of hooking up with that person, opposed to the end goal with the hubs is, he wanted to be with me, all of me, the part that talks, the part that has ideas that I make him listen to. I'm like, I read this in this book. Can I share it with you? I said this the other day. You should have seen that man's eyes. He literally gave me the look like, please don't. And I'm like, Kaz, I promise it's just quick. And he's still giving me the look like, oh my God, please don't share this book thought with me. And I'm like, it's this, I just, because I've also learned that that's part of me, man. I like to think, when he wakes up and he's telling me how his knees feel, I'm looking at him like, please do not give me the morning body report. But he does. And I'm there for it because that is part of intimacy. That, we have all these different types of intimacy, and intimacy is more than just physical. So long story short, I want you to get to the point where you can feel a connection with somebody else, not just getting a hit by looking at them. I want you to go, okay, right now there's 27 women in this room, but something about that one over there, it doesn't always happen. It's not going to happen in every room, but that's the spice of life, because when you find that person, and it doesn't have to be your forever person, it can be your person for this season. And, that's how life's fun and I made a video about the pleasure pain paradox, which wasn't exactly like this, but the idea is you think you just want to be with someone. You think you just want to hook up and that's it. And this incorporates, someone had, about pictures in Tinder. I can find the question just to give you a shout out. But, when you go there to Tinder, you're just looking for a dopamine hit. The likelihood that you want to be with those people is low, because and the way around that is join groups of people that are like-minded so you can find someone that you can truly connect with. I won't keep going on that one, but that's important stuff. And that's completely lost in today's day and age, because young women are being taught to be hypersexual and men are hypersexual, and everyone's just looking to be validated by other people in a really unhealthy way. And again, going back to be the black sheep in this thing, be the person who doesn't do that. Be the person who has the, strength to be able to go, I don't need that. It's Franklin Bazan. I see the question. If you're texting girls about, if you're sexting them or trying to hook up with them, that's not healthy for you. But if you found someone you're actually interested in and you're going to text that one person and you can see that one person wants to text you back, that's exciting. And that's, moving in the right direction of creating intimacy. That's exactly right, Tom. The sound of silence. Sorry, Jamie.
You're fine. Arjun, I suffer from deep shame and guilt from past actions and thoughts that porn had brought out of me. How do I heal from this? It haunts me, even though I have gotten over porn and such mediums.
Okay, this is a really great question. So remember that literally your brain and your body and every fiber of your being changes every 7 years. And so the you who did those things and the you who needed those things is not the you of today and right now. And that's why this whole thing is a journey. And everybody can benefit from this question, regardless of porn. There's a couple things, and I don't have many regrets, honestly, because of this thing this notion that I'm going to share with you. But there's a few things where I'm like, why would I act that way? But 20-year-old me certainly isn't the me of today. Even the me of 5 years ago isn't the me of today. And the things that she did is what she thought was best at that time. It goes back to the idea that on any given day, do your best and realize back in the day, the things that you needed, you were doing your best. We know that when people go to pornography, it is because of shame. in the first place, generally speaking. And then it creates tons of shame. But, going back to, I saw some other questions about the porn industry. They're taking advantage of your brain performance. They know they're addicting people left and right on a daily basis. And, I always tell you, this isn't your fault, but this is your responsibility, especially now that you know better from the information that we're putting out, is that you were sucked into this. So forgive yourself. And we have Gestalt techniques, just a fancy term for bringing your mind and your body and connecting it. You could just journal. Journaling's an easy way. And think about the things that you consumed or that you did, and then create an understanding for yourself of why you did it. It's self-soothing. We know that these behaviors are self-soothing behaviors to take the edge off of anxiety and to make you feel better in a world that doesn't feel good to you for some reason. And then forgive yourself for it. Forgiveness is the way out. And I've forgiven myself for doing the things that I've done. You can take it a step further, which is in the 12 steps in recovery. Reach out to people you've hurt if you've hurt people. And I've done that. And people are like, whoa, they're blown away. That takes strength to be able to revisit some old wounds and try to heal them. And so when you do that, you forgive yourself, you forgive others who've hurt you, and then you make a commitment and you make a covenant of that you're not going to do those things anymore. And you're going to create a life that makes it so that you don't have to go back to those behaviors. And again, it's through action steps. When you take those actions, you become a different person. You're like, okay, I did those things because of that, and I forgive myself, but I'm not doing those things anymore. I'm doing these things. I'm a new person. It works. That's how you resolve it and release it. And then you only look back for as long as you need to heal that, because the past is gone. There's nothing you can do about it besides forgive. The present is the only thing that's real. And then when I encourage people to look towards the future, it's looking towards the future and goals that you can set to inform your present behavior, how you're going to act today. And all you can do is act your best today. And if it's not perfect, give yourself some grace and get up tomorrow and act your best tomorrow.
So here's one. Dr. Trish, can you go into detail the shrinkage of the brain as a result of watching porn? Is that the brain will shrink literally in size or what?
Yeah, it's already proven by science. There's studies that show that especially the frontal lobe is deactivated, knocked offline. And the reward center is desensitized. And the reward center in particular is smaller. There's areas of the brain that are smaller because of porn consumption and are knocked offline, not functioning. It's both. It's physical and functional. Physical is size and what the cells are like. Functional is how it's functioning. And those two things generally always go together. Another interesting thing that I've been researching is dementia and hypersexuality in pornography consumption, and not necessarily causal, I haven't gotten there yet, but correlation, as it's talked about, the relationship between early onset dementia, and there's something called frontotemporal dementia. And that literally is that the cells and the functioning, the structure and the function of the frontal lobe and the temporal lobes are wounded. And so people get early onset dementia. And right now, I haven't yet found the link between that early onset dementia and pornography consumption. But if I was a betting person, I'd put my money on it, because we know I am a betting person. That's why I like to buy crypto. But crypto, right? It's a bet. I'm sorry, people. It's a bet. So do it wisely, carefully, and understand it's a bet. So anyways, the idea is that we know from the science already that people who have early onset frontotemporal dementia can exhibit hypersexual behaviors. And so here's the point. If you don't remember any of that, the point is your frontal lobe and your reward center are knocked offline. That's the same thing that happens in dementia. So if you keep going back to a behavior that knocks those two things offline and wounds them structurally, it's not good for your thinking, for your performing, your judgment, your memory, your sex life, everything. Nothing is going to be as good as if you didn't consume pornography. And it might even lead you in that direction. But pornography is a behavior. Pornography consumption, it's something that you're doing on a daily basis to pull your brain in that mode towards dementia. So with the beauty and wonder of neuroplasticity, when you stop doing that, your brain heals. And people always ask me, seriously, can my brain actually heal from that? Seriously. I've seen people's brains get better than they were before because they resolved the trauma. They changed their life. And when you do those things, you're changing your brain organically, nature, and you're changing your environment, nurture. And that's what informs our brain performance patterns and how we feel and perform. So not only can you heal your brain from porn consumption, you can make it better.
Okay, one more that's not on here is this. Can you please talk about the different types of sexualities? Are there real or delusions from porn or brain damage in general? And I know that it might cause you danger. So if you answer me here,
that's basically the same question, because nobody wants me to have to say that porn causes same-sex attraction. But there's studies that show pornography consumption causes same-sex attraction OCD. That's a new diagnostic category that is being talked about without porn in the conversation. But we know that people are suffering from same-sex attraction OCD. And what that means is they constantly think about the opposite sex in a sexual way, even though they aren't gay. So no, porn doesn't cause homosexuality. So the different sexualities, there's tons of them. And that's what I'm talking about. As long as it's authentic. And I have 5 children, you know this, right? So, and I was telling Jamie this the other day in the office, because I think we were discussing this question, that 2 of my daughters, one daughter was very proudly pansexual for a couple of years. And she's looking at me like, am I going to be in trouble for being pansexual? And, I'm growing up kids. I'm like, if you're actually pansexual, why would you ever be in trouble for such a thing? All I want for you is to figure out who you are. And then, of course, she was like literally 11 when she was pansexual, which you're not even sexual at 11 if you're developing healthy, but you're beginning to think about sexuality. So she's beginning to think about sexuality with any and everything. And so I'm like, let's just see where this leads you. And, it led her to her boyfriend that she's been with for a year and a half. But my older daughter was in a relationship with a girlfriend for a long time, for like a year. And I didn't care. I'm like, if you're happy, I'm happy. Love is love, right? Like I truly believe that. But if you can't stop thinking about other men, and you've tried to be with men and you don't like it, and you can't stop watching same-sex porn, or in all of porn is basically the man is the central figure. And so you're focused on that and you develop same-sex attraction, and now you can't stop thinking about it. That's not authentic you. And especially if it's giving you trouble. I talk to people every day. They're like, I'm so upset about this. I don't know what to do about it. How do I stop thinking about it? You stop thinking about it by not watching it. And then give your brain time to unwire and rewire and become healthy and feel it out. What are you actually attracted to? That can be confusing for a long time. But when you feel it, and you have to let time and space, when you feel it, then you feel that connection. Everything we've talked about today goes together. You feel that real connection with someone, no matter, if they're from Mars or if they're, whatever they have going in terms of the way that they present themselves. The connection is what's authentic. And, you can find that. And when you find that with whoever that is, you're the luckiest person in the world.
Absolutely.
Okay, we probably have to wrap up because I have a long afternoon of appointments with no breaks. But okay, so what do we got here? Everybody, thank you for joining us. Yeah, get on purpose, David says. Purpose is the way through. That's what, existence is about. Dennis, I'm glad you joined, but we started at 12, my friend. You have to join next week. So everybody, next week, ditch the screen. Exactly, David. Come back, join us back here. We're going to be here at noon. Next week's going to be a good one. The video that's coming out is on the narcissistic bubble. If you don't know what that's about, check out the video that I've made and join us back here, because we're going to talk about that next week. How porn gets your brain in this bubble where all it wants is to go back for more and more sex. So join us and we'll talk about it. Jamie, thank you very much. What do you got going for the weekend? Anything exciting?
No, nothing exciting, just relaxing and enjoying time outside, because it is still absolutely beautiful and I am soaking up as much of it as possible.
I know. Thankfully, I have a pretty chill weekend. We went to the mountains last weekend, which was really fun, but made for a crazy week. And the weekends are always busy, but hopefully on Sunday, I'm going to get some chill time. Okay. You're going to have to miss your favorite actors in porn, Carlos. Time to leave them behind. Okay, get on purpose this weekend. Go do something that feeds your soul, and I'll see you next week. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it. Remember, control your brain or it'll control you, everybody. Okay, bye, Jamie. Thanks. Appreciate it.